Ezra Brettler. Come on up, Ezra. Her name was Kate Gallogly. She had blonde hair, blue eyes, a great smile. She was the prettiest girl in the entire 6th grade of Charles E. Brown Middle School. She had a brand new Baby G watch. Her gel pen collection was the envy of the entire grade. But somehow, by some kind of miracle, I convinced her to be my girlfriend. It wasn't one of those relationships in title only, where we only really talked by AIM. But it was a pretty far cry from an adult relationship. You know, we'd hold hands as we walked down the hall, we'd go on ice cream dates. I always paid. I had some serious dough for my babysitting job for the Newburger boys down the street. I hadn't really hit puberty yet, but I'd learned from Mr. Freeman's growing and changing class that adults, you know, they have certain ways of expressing affection for each other. And of course, I had a chorus of prepubescent friends telling me exactly what I needed to do with Kate. So we pretty quickly progressed from holding hands to kissing each other on the cheek, and then to kissing each other on the lips goodbye whenever we parted ways. Things were going great. I needed to keep the momentum going. I needed to find a way to continue pushing the envelope. And I got into the habit of counting in my head whenever we were kissing. So picture me, I had my kind of ice cream cone in hand. Just, you know, 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000, 5 1,000, 6 1,000. I'd say to myself, yes, you know, one more second than last week. And over the course of 5 months, I took this all the way to 11 seconds. That's pretty horrifying in retrospect to think of how awkward it must have been for poor Kate Gallogly during these 11-second kisses. But that wasn't really the end game. I knew that really I wanted something else. I wanted a French kiss. I wanted to hook up with Kate. He knows. To kind of get to first base, as we were talking about it at that time. But I didn't really know how to do it. I had a friend who was a bit more experienced. He gave me some advice. He said all I needed to do was just spell out the alphabet with my tongue while I was kissing her. That seemed easy enough. So I mustered up the courage to ask her if she wanted to French kiss. But she rejected me a couple of times. She said she wasn't ready. Well, there's a big school dance coming up. It was a luau dance, the tiki tango, they were calling it. And I thought this would be the perfect time to go for it with Kate. Had it all planned out. But a few days before the dance, we were in Mrs. Nogrady's social studies class. Kate passes me a note, and she tells me that we need to meet by my locker after class. Back in my locker, she tells me she's breaking up with me. No real explanation. She just turns around, flips her little blonde ponytail in my face, and walks off with her friends. And it was pretty tough. My mom, she tried consoling me. Later that night, she told me that it was for the best, that I'd find a nice Jewish girl, and I'd be much happier. If the blonde hair and the blue eyes weren't enough of a giveaway, Kate was not a member of the tribe. I didn't feel up to going to this dance after all. But my friends, they convinced me to go. Arrived at the dance, the gymnasium had been transformed. All the bleachers were pushed against the wall. DJ was playing some great music. Genie in the Bottle was on. And some brave kids, there were circles of kids dancing, and then some brave kids were even grinding. They had their bodies pressed up against each other, their knees bent, swaying back and forth. I'd never seen anything like it. So I was starting to think this, it wasn't such a bad idea to come after all. But then I see her, Kate Gallogly. She's looking happy as could be. And she's dancing with Nick Van Niel. That's right. Nick Van Niel, the most popular kid in the 6th grade. He's one of those rich kids who only wore Abercrombie. And they're kind of dancing playfully at first, but then they start grinding. And next thing I know, yet there was no mistaking it. Couldn't have lasted long. It definitely couldn't have lasted more than 11 seconds. But it wasn't the duration of the kiss that mattered. See, this was no ordinary kiss. They were using tongue in the kiss. I wish I could say I went over there and just punched Nick Van Niel in the face, told him to lay his hands off my girl. But in reality, I went outside. I told my friends I needed to get some fresh air. I never came back. I walked the 2 miles home. I grew up an Orthodox Jew, so I actually had to walk home. My parents weren't giving me a ride. It was it was a Friday night. It was Shabbat. And I was pretty crushed by the whole thing. Instead of being one of the first kids in my class to make out with a girl, to get to first base, I was planted firmly on the sidelines until a fateful bar mitzvah in the fall of 8th grade. But that's a story for another night. Thank you.
Ezra Brettler.